Similar to arrays, we can also use iteration statements to access all the elements in an array list, which is referred to as traversing the array list. So given our previous array list here, where we've added elements using the add method, and here is our array list of numbers printed to the screen, well, we can traverse this array list using a for loop. So we have int I is 0, being our initialization, and our boolean condition will be I is less than the array list dot size, and then we have our increment, and what we'll do is print each element of the array list to the screen. So we'll use the get method of the array list at index I. So note that we index the elements in the array list starting at index 0 and ending at the number of elements -1. So if we run this program, we can see that each element in the array list is printed. Now, deleting elements during a traversal of an array list requires special techniques to avoid skipping elements. So for example, let's try to delete the elements in the array list where the number is equal to 12 or 1. So again, we have our for loop to traverse the array list in a similar way. So we're traversing all the elements in the array list, and what we'll do is declare a number that's equal to the current element in the array list. So we use the get method at index I. So if the number is equal to 12, or the number is equal to 1, so we'll use the remove method of the array list to remove the element at this index. And now let's run this program. Well, as we can see, the number 12 was removed, but we missed the number 1. And why does this happen? Well, at index 0, the number is 12, and then when we remove the elements get shifted to the left. So therefore the number 1 will now be at index 0, and then given that I is incremented to 1 in the next iteration, then the number 1 gets skipped. So to ensure that this doesn't happen, we can decrement the loop control variable when we delete an element from the array list. So let's try this again. And now we can see that 12 and 1 are both removed from the array list as intended. And now since the indices for an array list start at 0 and end at the number of elements -1, when we access an index value outside this range, we'll get an index out of bounds exception being thrown. So for example, in our traversal of the array list, if our boolean condition is I is less than or equal to the size of the array list, well, here we're accessing a number outside the range. So if we run this program, we get an index out of bounds exception. So let's remove that. Now another problem we need to watch out for is when we change the size of the array list while traversing it using an enhanced for loop. So let's try to traverse this array list using an enhanced for loop. So we have an integer being the number in the array list, and our array list is AL numbers. Now let's try to change the size of this array list by adding a number to it. So for example, we'll try to add the number 40. And if we run this program, we get a concurrent modification exception. So we can't modify the size of the array list in an enhanced for loop. So we shouldn't add or remove elements from the array list using an enhanced for loop.